So you're kind of looking from a different view. I'm standing in a different place than I usually stand when I talk to you. Or 90 degrees to that, up against another wall, where I have a machine that I use a lot for segmented turning. I use it for building cabinets or tables or anything that needs a nice straight flat edge. But segments, I think it's real important that you have at least one edge that's perfectly flat, and best if it's at a 90 degrees, because on a wedgie sled it just works a lot better. So this is my joiner. It's a 6-inch joiner. The table's about 47 inches long. It's a great machine. It works just fine. The knives are slightly noisier than the new systems they have out, which is a helix head. The big drawback on knives right here is I have this hooked up to a dust collector. I'll show you that port once we get going. The trouble is, the shavings are kind of fluffy, long, and they get clogged up, and half the time I can't get all the shavings out, even with my dust collector. The shavings off a helix head are much smaller because there's many knives staggered going across there. That's the theory. I've never had one until now. And I don't know if I ever would have bought one, but there's a company that got a hold of me, and they have all kinds of different tools you can get, you can buy them, but they offered to send me what I wanted. And I saw the helix head on there, and I said, yes indeed. So today, I'm going to make some cuts with the blade so you can see that. I have my phone set up with the decibel readings, and we'll see if the sound changes, if it's quieter with this or not. So I'm going to go ahead and make these cuts, and I'm using some Siberian elm that I cut over 4 years ago into little strips from our tree, and they're dry. I'm going to joint the edge. I'm going to join the face first and the edge. We'll see how this handles that, and we'll do another one that I have right here with the helix head. Alright, I'm going to get all set up, get my dust collector ready, and we'll test it out. Just to be fair, I won't start the dust collector until I show you this pass, because you'll be hearing that and the joiner, and that's just not a fair test. So I turned the sound down on the video because my camera just magnified how loud it really was. I think this maxed out about 95. Once I run the dust collector, I found it didn't get any higher, but my dust collector is on the back side of the microphone on my camera, so that makes sense. That maxed out at 95. Not as loud as I expected. I'll show you these at the end, but that actually has a nice smooth surface. Let's go ahead and start the dust collector, and I'll joint the other edges. So the dust collector is not as loud as the joiner. It looked like it was about 7 decibels less. So that's actually a pretty decent finish. I'm going to go ahead and tear this machine down and swap out what we have with the new one. Now we'll be back. I don't know when it's going to be finished. It should be pretty quick. So it is the next morning, and I did get the helix head installed last night. But this morning I had to set the tables back up to the right height and everything, and that's all done. Now we're going to go ahead and test it out. First I'm going to run it with no cutting, and we'll look at that meter again and see what it runs at, and then we'll make some cuts. Then we'll check to see how well the dust collector is able to pick up the shavings. And I don't know that yet, but I'm sure hoping it does a good job. So here it is with it on. Now, that is really quiet. doesn't have the same whine as the other one did. There's something different. I just like it. So far I do like it. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and flatten this side, and I'll do it without the dust collector so you can hear only the jointer and how loud it is. So we're going to do that, and I'll do the edge, but then I want to turn the dust collector on and see what the shavings look like. Let's say the lack of shavings, hopefully. So I've turned the sound down on the video again for the same reason of the microphone picking up more than it should. I found that running the machine, not even cutting, was about 85 decibels, and when I cut it didn't increase, so it's still about 85 decibels. Pretty happy with that. I didn't hear any additional noise, and the meter didn't really reflect any additional sound while it cuts, where the knives increased it close to 10 more decibels. And this is very, very smooth. Ran it across at the same rate as the knives, and there is no skip. If you go too fast, you can leave a ripply looking feeling or appearance. So I'm pretty happy with that. Pick some of this stuff up, and we'll wrap all this up and let you know what I think about it. I can tell you right now, I love it. As long as I'm standing here by the jointer, I want to point something out that over the years as a pattern maker, and we'd get apprentices, and you have to learn from the beginning, but in order to get a board flat, you do not want to press on the in-feed table when you're cutting. You want to keep all the pressure here, and then it becomes flat, kind of like this. That's how you get it flat. If you don't, the in-feed table is always lower than the out-feed, or you wouldn't be taking a cut. If you're pressing on the in-feed, you're pushing the board up, and that's exaggerating. Let's see if we actually got this flat. Got a pretty nice straight edge here, and that is a perfectly flat joint. This was a pretty easy project, probably an hour and a half. So I took the fence off to have access to the bolt in the back, removed both of the bolts, lifted the old head off, took the bearing caps off of the old one, installed them on the new one, dropped it back in, and bolted everything together. So I then put the pulley on, hooked the belt up, and proceeded to put all 28 carbide inserts into their locations. I thought I should give you a good close-up look at how this works, and I have the machine unplugged. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inserts in 4 different positions. And you have it like this, then here, and here. They're staggered, so the next insert will pick up what this doesn't cut. So I am very happy with this. Using the old cutter head with the knives and the dust collector on, this is what was left in there. With the new head installed, I made a few cuts without the dust collector just to see what the shavings look like. After that, I cut it with the dust collector on, and that's what we ended up with. Nothing in there. I guess it's time to talk about what I think about the new helical head I put in there. This is the board I used the knife system on, and it's not bad. It's pretty smooth. This is the one I did with the new helical cutter, and it feels like a piece of glass. It's just as smooth as can be. So there definitely was a difference in the sound, because when you turn the machine on with this and you started cutting, the sound increased a bit, and you could tell it just had a different sound. I could barely hear the cutting going on with this. It was just very, very surprising, actually. What's that? You want me to do what? Oh, just a minute. These guys are just, they can be a nuisance. They think they're the shop inspectors. Let me zoom in so you can see them. They said I forgot to tell you about something. They're just trying to embarrass me. Anyways, these are called wood spirits. I carved those a number of years ago. This one kind of sits on my lathe. It's got a magnet on the bottom. They've been around the shop just keeping an eye on me. So what didn't I tell you? Well, this was a real surprise. I did not read this box. What did it say? Smoother finish, faster feed rate, noise reduction. All three of the things I think I mentioned at the beginning that I've heard about, and now I've found out that it's actually true. And obviously a longer life on the cutters. So this company is called FindBuy Tool. Unusual name, but really a nice product. I'm going to put a link in the description. It'll send you to their web page. You can look at everything they have. They've got lots of woodworking tools, gouges, chisels, you name it, and metalworking stuff. So I'm really impressed with this tool, and I sure appreciate the fact that they were willing to send it to me to try out. Thanks for watching, and wood turning video this coming Friday.